Goodway had reported that the asylum. The call came around the middle of the night. Mayor Goodway had reported that the asylum that Zuma and Rubble were in had been attacked according to the residents there. They had all but screamed for help before being cut off by the sounds of something eating them alive as their pleas of mercy echoed until the line went dead. Right after hearing that, the mayor called Ryder and the remaining pups. The two instantly suited up and made their way to the asylum outside of town, where they were met with instant silence and despair. Chase could already smell the blood and guts from outside of the mental hospital, nearly gauging from the overall stench. Even the others could smell it too and looked to be turning as green as Rocky's outfit. Slowly, they walked forward with their flashlights on before opening the front doors. In an instant, they were greeted to a set of bodies lying around with bits of them torn open as if something ripped them apart with their bare teeth. "Oh God," whispered Rocky, turning away to hide from the gory sight. "What could have done this?" "I don't know, but we should stay together and find survivors, including Zuma and Rubble," Ryder whispered as he stepped forward. Rocky and Chase both looked at each other with worry as their minds turned to the youngest of them. The ones who had seen so much death that they couldn't handle it anymore. Fear began to creep into their minds that both of their friends were either dead or going through a mental breakdown. Chase, however, was getting a sickening feeling that a certain duo thought dead was behind this, but why did they attack her was beyond his imagining. The two quickly caught up with Ryder, slowly making his way down the hall. "Sir, I think we should wait for backup," Chase suggested. "If it wasn't for the fact that Zuma and Rubble were here, I would agree with you, Chase, but I lost 2 pups already and I'm not losing another 2, Ryder remarked, gritting his teeth as his tone ended the conversation right there. Chase bit his lip but obeyed his owner. He only prayed that who he thought was behind this was long gone. They passed by numerous bodies of dead patients and doctors who were all killed in bloody ways. Some had their throats and faces ripped apart. Others were missing entire sides of their chest, and a few were even dug in with their rib cages exposed. Chase didn't need to be a medical professional to tell they had their organs eaten. Suddenly, the path split into 2 different hallways. Ryder looked at both directions before turning to his team. "We're going to split up." "Split up?" "Ryder, that's how everyone dies in a horror movie," Rocky shouted, whimpering. "Let's just leave. Zuma and Rubble are already dead by now. I don't want any of us to die either. Let's just leave, head home, and get the hell out of Adventure Bay. I don't want to lose you or Chase or even myself too, whatever the hell did this." "We're not going until we find Zuma and Rubble, Rocky." "That's an order," shouted Ryder, making the 2 back away. He realizes what he had done before closing his eyes. "I'm sorry. I'm just scared for them. If we find them, dead or alive, I promise we'll leave. I'll even let you pups pick a new home for us to live in, but please, just this one last time, let's rescue our friends." Every instinct was telling Chase to just grab Ryder and run. He was sure Rocky was thinking the same thing too. Yet, even now with death staring at them in the face, he couldn't disobey him. The 2 slowly nodded as Ryder sighed and knelt, scratching their ears silently for a while before standing back up. "All right, I'll head left. You 2 go right." The 2 nodded and made their way down the right path with their flashlights on, hoping that they would see their owner again soon. Chase didn't know how long they had been searching, but so far all they could find was dead bodies and blood. Furniture was turned over or ripped apart and there was no sign of survivors. Truth was, he didn't know where either Rubble or Zuma were housed during their stay here. None of them could stomach to face what they had seen come out of their 2 youngest members. One always having a nervous breakdown while the other was dead in the eyes. That's when they found what looked to be an important office. Pushing the door open, Rocky turned to Chase and said, "Keep watch. Maybe there's a record of where they are?" Nodding, Chase proceeded to do so while checking both ends of the hallway with his light. A small clunking noise forced him to turn to the left where he saw a small soda can slowly roll down towards him. He gulped and readied his net to catch whatever it was that was nearby, but when a paw tapped him on the shoulder which caused him to jump. He sighed in relief when he saw it was Rocky. "He's in the next cells over," said Rocky, nodding. Chase called his owner. "Ryder, sir? We found Rubble's location. We're going to check his room now." There was no reply. "Sir?" asked a worried Chase. "Zuma's dead." The two pups held their breath while staring at each other wide eyes. The call ended there, but it was enough to make the two close their eyes in silence. He didn't deserve this. That was all Rocky said before he pressed on. "No, none of us deserve this," Chase thought before following Rocky. The two of them made it to the room that held Rubble's name and slowly opened it, only to close it again in disgust and sorrow. Chase had only seen a second of Rubble's missing headless body to know it was too late. "They're dead, both of them are dead." Rocky wept as he turned to Chase, who looked at him with sympathy. "Why them, Chase? Why them?" Chase didn't answer, he just turned away and walked some distance before he sighed. "Rocky, I'm responsible." He faced his confused friend. I wished Marshall and Sky came back to life with a monkey's paw. They did this, Rocky. I'm the reason for all this misery." Rocky just groaned and shook his head. "Chase, will you stop thinking such stoogy? Suddenly something came down from below and tackled Rocky to the floor while biting him in the neck, causing him to scream. Chase yelped but froze upon seeing who it was that was digging its teeth into Rocky's neck. "Get it off me! Get it off me! Awawagwai!" It then ripped out a good chunk of the neck, causing Rocky to scream once more, yet it became weaker as blood began to pour out of it. With one last gasp, he lowered his head to the ground with his eyes half open and his chest no longer moving. The creature, once known as Sky, slowly raised her rotting undead face as she chewed Rocky's throat muscles in her jaw. At that moment, Chase wet himself on the floor and stared in horror of what his wish had done to his friend. She slowly began to move towards him like a predator. He tired to see in those sunken dead-like eyes a sign of the pup he once loved still in there, but all he could see was the monster who murdered the last of his friends. She charged forward, forcing him to roll away before rushing down the hall with her shrieking behind him. Just as she was about to jump him, he turned around and barked, "Net!" From his pup pack his net launcher fired and hit its target, bring the zombified Sky down. She roared and hissed in her struggles to get free as Chase stared at her with pity and tears in his eyes. He spotted a nearby lead pipe and knew what he had to do. Picking it up with his mouth, he walked over to her and watched as she tried to get him to feast on.
"I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," he whispered before using his strength to mash the pipe on her head.
She screamed as he did it a second time. Then a third. He kept hitting repeatedly even when her head had been turned to mush. He just kept hitting her as tears went down his eyes. He didn't know how long he did it, but soon he stopped and fell to his stomach in despair. His entire coat was covered in her blood, but his soul had been drowning it long before that.
He slowly got up and summoned his pup tag. "RR Ryder, sir?" "Nothing."
He didn't even bother trying to call a second time. He knew what it meant. He laughed a bit before slowly getting up to find the last friend he had left in this world. He made his way to the crossroads in the halls where he had split up from Ryder. He just kept walking forward, his feet directing him while his mind just continued to think about all the good times he had in life. His days saving Adventure Bay. The fun and games. The holidays. All of them special in their own way. A small smile decorated his lips. Life was good, but now? Now with all his family dead? What was the point of life anymore? He had ruined it. He had destroyed it. Now he wanted to end it. There was only way to end it. One way to justify everything. He hoped there was nothing after death because deep down he was afraid of what punishment he would get in hell, but then again maybe it was justified. He continued to walk down the blood-stained halls until he heard teeth against flesh. He turned the corner and saw a sight that brought tears to his eyes. His owner, Ryder, was staring into the ceiling with his wide eyes and shocked expression as a certain Dalmatian he once mourned ate into his ribcage. Marshall, sensing new fresh meat, raised his blood-soaked jaw that was rotting to the point where you could see the gumless teeth. His sullen eyes and peeled-off fleshed face reflected off of the blood-soaked pool of his owner's life essence. His tail was all gone and the suit he was buried in was in ruins. Chase should have been angry, afraid, or even upset that Ryder was dead, but all he cared about was just ending this once and for all. I should have done this a long time ago, he thought as he stepped forward. Hey, buddy, remember me? The growl on Marshall's lips didn't indicate a yes or no, but Chase didn't care. He just continued, I would have given the world to see you alive again, especially since I'm the one that got you killed. I guess it's what they say, be careful what you wish for. He looked at Ryder and sighed. At least he's with the others now. Chase stood up straight and raised his arms. Go on. Finish it. Finish me. Just do it, Marshall. Just come and kill me. And so Marshall charged. He charged forward with his jaws ready to pounce. Chase closed his eyes and awaited the final sweet release he had desired for so long. This was justice. He would die by Marshall's jaws and enter oblivion. His final punishment at last for his selfishness and the misery he had caused with it. This was what he deserved. It was what he wanted. And yet once again, he was denied it. In that sudden moment, a twist beyond fate itself, a part of the ceiling fell just at the right time and crushed Marshall's head in a wet squishing noise. Chase opened his eyes and felt his jaw dropped at the sight of his dead friend, again, twitching under the weight of the cement and rock that had fallen on his head and turned it into a squished melon. When it stopped moving, Chase silently just sat there trying to process all that had happened. He was alive. Again. He was the only one left alive. Marshall was dead. Sky was dead. Rubble, Zuma, Rocky, and Ryder. They were all dead. He was the only one alive. Even when he wanted it, was willing to allow it, fate somehow let him live. And that's when he lost it. He cursed and screamed. He started throwing anything around him in any direction there was. He wasn't supposed to live. He was supposed to die. He had to die. Why would any power in this universe allow him to suffer like this over and over again? He tried to find something to end his life, a knife, a gun, sharp glass, rope, anything that could do it, be it quick or painless, but there was nothing he could find.
God damn it, he shouted, gasping for breath. Fine. I'll just get in my car and drive off a cliff. Huh? You like that? He rushed back to the entrance and was about to break the door down when he froze.
It was there. The thing that had caused him all the pain he had suffered since that godforsaken day. In the middle of the entrance, with a bright light standing above it, was the monkey's paw. With only one finger left unfolded. Chase growled and stared at the thing with such intensity that he could have melted it with his angry gaze alone. He walked over to the hand and every desire to rip it apart came forward as he held it in his paws. With tears in his eyes, he screamed, "Everything is your fault. You did this. You did this to me. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I wish I never got you in the first place." And just like that, the last finger folded and a second later Chase was gone. A flicker of a light from the lights made the entire room dark before turning back on with no trace of him, nor the monkey's paw. There was a lot you could say about Paw Patrol police officer and squad leader, Chase. You could say he was a natural leader, brave, daring, athletic, popular, friendly, and even childish at times, but he'll vigorously deny it. Of course, one word all his friends always said that came to their minds was workaholic. It wasn't that Chase didn't know how to have fun, or even relax, but did tend to get too caught up in acting as a professional at times to the point where he often forget when he didn't need to. Whether it was training, patrolling, planning new team tactics, testing equipment, or even cleaning the lookout up, Chase had a bad habit of getting too caught up in the moment. Thankfully, Marshall was always there to drag his sorry but away from duties and towards town where the two could relax. "Come on, Marshall, did you have to drag me by my tail in front of everyone?" asked Chase, glaring at his best friend. "Would you rather have me use the rope?" asked Marshall, grinning as the two stopped at a corner as the crossing light turned red. "Besides, you were driving everyone stir crazy with your antics." "All I was doing was making sure the lookout was secure." "We did have a break-in last month after all," replied Chase, huffing. "That was just Callie chasing after Chiquetta who took her mouse toy," giggled Marshall. Chase sighed, walking ahead of his best friend as the light signaled to walk okay, so maybe I was a bit dash. Hinnink. Chase turned to see what the noise was, but the moment he did, a large SUV smashed into him and sent him sailing across the air before landing in a streak of his own blood. "Chase!" shouted Marshall as he rushed over to his bleeding and broken friend. He shouted his name a few more times, but there was no response nor any breathing from the motionless pup. He shouted for nearby pedestrians to get help as she tearfully told Chase to open his eyes and hang on. The flea market behind them, that they were planning to go to, was all but forgotten in his mind.
Okay, Leute, wir sind uns gleich in etwa 42 Minuten für die finale Part von dieser Geschichte und dann morgen morgen gehen wir los mit der neuen Geschichte. Dann ja, bis gleich.